On this episode, we talk about navigation. What's going on, everybody? Roman Miranda here. Welcome to the Uber NYC Guide Show, episode 14, Trucking Along. Today, I want to talk about GPS. What GPS should you use? What GPS should you have? Should you have them all? What do you use? There are three major contenders, in my opinion, to using a GPS, app. One is Google Maps, two is Waze, and three is the native Uber. And I only put that in there because there's times where you are required to use it. But those are the only three I'm going to talk about. I don't have any other ones. I don't have Apple Maps. I just have never liked it ever for personal use, so I've never even thought to use it. But the three, in my opinion: Google Maps, Waze, and then the Uber native GPS system. Let's touch base on all three. Again, this is personal preference. This is this dude's opinion. Everything on this channel is my opinion. There's definitely some facts, but it's mostly my opinion. I just want to put that out there as well, in case you didn't know. So, my opinion, hands down, the best app is Google Maps. It has, in my opinion, it's got the most. It's been right the most amount of times for me. I drive a lot. I just generally drive a lot. I'm always driving around the tri-state area and even more sometimes. So I use GPS fairly often, and that one has been the most consistent. I've tried Waze is good, but my issue with Waze is it's very, at least the last time I really tried using it for a stint, I only used Waze for a couple of months straight. I don't know when it not, maybe they've done some updates. Maybe I'm not giving them a fair job or fair credit, but it seemed very gamey. They gamified everything with the crowns, and there was, look, what I want in an app, a navigation app, is I want to open it up. I want to see where point A is and where point B is, and I want to see the major overview, and I want to be able to see like the actual driving part, right? The like centered, whatever you want to call it. So Waze, I felt like I could never easily just look at the overview, and that's really important, in my opinion, in driving in Manhattan, because things change. The GPS isn't going to catch you every single time. You got to know where you're going. And if you're on a tricky section, if you're under the BQE in Brooklyn and there's like an exit ramp and then another street and then a cross street and then there's a left only turning lane, like, you got to know what's going on. You got to know where you're at. And in my opinion, with Waze, it just, the roads were like, I don't know, the roads were too big, and then the little there were bubbles everywhere. If I did ever wind up seeing an overview, there was so many different things, and I tried going into the settings. Again, maybe I didn't give it a fair shot, but it wasn't UI friendly for me. I thought I went into the preferences, and you can like turn off a lot of those things. And I felt like I turned everything off that I could, and there were still a lot of things in the way. So I don't like Waze. So I use Google Maps. It's very clean. I feel like the navigation, like the arrow that you are of the car, is very accurate in the distance of how far you are from streets, in my opinion. And that's what I want to talk about with the Uber native GPS. I hate it. Every single time it says a estimation, it's at least 6 minutes off. It's always off. It always says you're going to get there in 5 minutes, and then it takes 10 minutes. Or it says it'll be 30 minutes, and it takes 40 minutes. Like, it's really far off. So whenever, and what I talked about last time in saying, hey, remember my script, right? The first thing I say is the ETA to the destination. That's what people want to know. So when you talk about the ETA to the destination and you say 6 minutes and it takes 12, then that's not going to be good. So I always open up Google Maps to check it. Now, there are times where you're required, there's really only one time where you're required to use Uber's built-in navigation, and that's if you're doing Uber Pool. I'm going to talk about Uber Pool in another video, but Uber Pool, they require you to use it in case a rider gets added. And if you're outside of the Uber app and a rider gets added, then you're not going to get that notification all the time. So they default it so that you have to use that navigation app. Which I think is smart, but it's just the car that's being used, it's too big. Like it tells you, like I've missed turns. Well, I've almost missed turn. Maybe I've missed a turn, but it's so big and it doesn't catch up to where you are, and it's very glitchy. I don't like it at all. I highly recommend downloading Google Maps if you don't use that already. So that's my little rant on what GPS, what navigation to use. Again, I think Google Maps is king. Sometimes there have been probably 20 times where a passenger has requested me, or no, they didn't request me to use Waze, but they opened up Waze on their phone to check because they wanted to see it on Waze. So it might be worth downloading Waze just to be on the same page as them, but I personally have never used Waze with any, even if they were using it themselves, because I just trust Google Maps more. So that's my opinion on what GPS to use, and try them all out yourself. I would highly recommend driving around in the city. I mean, I've had the privilege of driving around Manhattan or the 5 boroughs, not really Staten Island, the four boroughs, for 8 years, 9 years, I've been driving around the city. I've always, I know the major highways. You got to know the major highways at least, and then most of Manhattan, you got to know how that functions. I still don't know the Village and down and lower Manhattan all that well. So don't feel stressed that you need to go study and drive around for hours and hours and hours. Learn on the job, but just be careful. And a GPS tip that I like to use whenever you're coming towards an intersection that you're unsure of, or you're seeing stuff is kind of weird, look at where what your GPS is telling you to do. Like for Google Maps, it's a blue line, or it's red or orange if there's traffic. Look at where that is, and look at where the white roads are, and make sure to avoid those. So if you're coming up and it's got, you're at a situation where it's, maybe it's 7th and Broadway and 7th Ave, and you don't know which one to take, and you're confused, then see which one is blue, and is it the one on the right or the one on the left, and choose, properly, go accordingly. And same with exit, if there's a little triangle thing, and then there's a road going this way, make sure that you're using the exits and stuff like that. So yeah, in general, I love GPS. I think it's great, but I'm also I kind of have a little bit of old school in me, where I like to know where I'm going, and I try to study the roads. And I feel like I definitely have learned the city more in the past 3 months than I have ever before. So definitely, use the GPS as a crutch, but don't 100% rely on it. Know where you're going, because today I was driving up 6th Ave, and it kept thinking that I was turning. The GPS wasn't catching me very well, and it kept spinning, and it wasn't working. But I knew that I had to go all the way up, and I needed to turn on 61st. So no matter what the GPS was doing, and it was freaking out the whole time, I wasn't going to start following it, because the worst thing to do is to all of a sudden look at the phone and look at the GPS and think that you're missing a turn and then do something sudden and get into an accident or hit somebody, or just generally, like in my situation, that could have added 12 minutes to the ride, and it was raining today, and I had if I have a 1.8 surge pricing customer in the back, like I'm trying to get there as fast as possible. So so make sure that you use it as a crutch, but don't rely on it 100% heavily. And my suggestion is Google Maps all the way. Cool. Hope that helps. And let me know in the comments what you're liking, what you need help with. What are some other topics that you want to see me make a video on? And how's it going for you? Where are you in the process? Cool. Jump in the comments below. I'll be in there typing away. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.